Hey guys, let's talk about tonight's episode of Scandal. And oh my gosh, this one was a heartbreaker. I did not expect them to kill off James. It didn't, I just didn't think they were going to go there. I mean, I know that it ended with him getting shot last week, or we saw, Jake pointing the gun in that direction and shooting again. I just didn't think they would actually commit to killing James off. I mean, Cyrus's husband, it was crazy. This was an episode that I really enjoyed, and I think we got a lot of really great scenes between Olivia and her father, Cyrus and Fitz, Mellie and Andrew. Just some really good stuff. We had some great flashbacks showing us how James and Cyrus got together. And it was just like it was a quiet but really powerful episode, I felt anyway. The scene with Olivia and her father on the bench. And I mean, I feel like Olivia cries in every single episode these days, but that scene when she's trying to understand what it is that you know that being the head of B613 means, of course. And of course, her father gives her this great monologue about how he's killed like 183 people, and he remembers every single person. He knows just how many people would have died, would lose them in their families and all that stuff. And again, he says that unfortunately these 183 lives are things that they're going to haunt him forever. So her punishing him or her punishing Jake isn't going to change that he's already being punished by all these deaths that he has on his head. And they were all for the greater good of the Republic. Like I said last week, every time you hear the word Republic, take a drink. But it's just one of those things where what is it all worth if all these people that she loves are these horrible, bad people? And he says, because everybody deserves to be saved. And I guess that's the point. Like, you're sacrificing 183 people for the greater good of the country. And of course, these three people, the reporter, the NSA, and James, all died so that the secret of Daniel Douglas getting out wouldn't happen, and it's to serve the greater good of the Republic. So it's again one of those things where you're just like, how many of these types of things actually happen? I'm sure that they happen way more often than any of us would like to think. And the fact that they already came up with a patsy for this murder, they blamed it on somebody who's already had a very big criminal past, and that's just how it works. And when Jake went up to David Rosen and he said, it's taking too long for you to come up with a suspect. I gave you this guy, don't make me regret it, basically. And you're just seeing this cold, calculated side of Jake, and it's scary. But it's also pretty good to see just how far down the rabbit hole they have to go to be in command of such an organization as B613. So, of course, we have byproducts of this organization, and of course, that would be Huck and that is Quinn. And in this episode, we had a very disturbing scene between the two of them again, when Huck, of course, finds out that Quinn is the one who broke into the safe, who found out all the information about the Daniel Douglas murder. And of course, she's the one who gave it to Jake. And so he breaks into her place and he tells her, oh, I came here to kill you. But obviously you wanted to be seen on that videotape. So there's still a gladiator inside of you. And they're like pressed up against the wall. And he's got her by the hands. And she's like, get out of my house. And he's like, I know you're still a gladiator. She's like, you can't tell me I'm a gladiator, then take it away and then now be here. And then he like kisses her. And it's just like this awkward, bad, aggressive, sadistic, like not good, not romantic in any way. And she's like, if you're not gonna kill me, then get out. And it's just one of those things where they're kissing and then Huck even steps back and he's like, that scene gave me the creeps because Huck is creepy, okay? The fact that he had a family when he was part of B613, but he was still not quite off the reservation was one thing. But he is fully off the reservation right now. And so him with his googly eyes and him talking to her like this close to her face, it creeps me out. So Huck is still doing a very good job of being Mr. Creepy Dude who used to live and sleep on a platform with his crazy beard, okay? Just saying. So we also had what seems to be Adnan meeting her match because we all know she's working with Olivia's mom, and Olivia's mom is cray cray. Okay, so of course in this episode she reiterates the fact that she's all about getting this money, and all her taking down the plane of 230 whatever passengers was basically for kicks, and that was just one thing, and she's not a terrorist. It's like really, I don't know. I don't know what to make of her. I don't know what to make of all of it. But I know that Adnan is freaking out and she's scared in her boots. She even goes to Harrison and she's like, your boss knows somebody at the justice office, right? Because I might need to hop on a plane and get the heck out of here. It's like, well, who did you think you were in bed with, honey? Like, do you not vet the people that you're about to go work with? Because she is crazy. And when she basically just shoots the guy in front of her, it's like, yeah, you're in a whole other ballgame. I don't know what business she thought she was getting herself into, but clearly she has crossed over a line that she thinks that she's going to have to run from now. So that was very interesting. We didn't get a lot of Mama Pope, but we got enough to just be like, she crazy. And then we had a couple good scenes with David and Abby, and over this season we've obviously seen Abby. She's a lot more sassy, her hair's curly, she's wearing more makeup, and I think she looks great. And so her and David as a couple work for me. And in last week's episode or 2 weeks ago, they finally said how much like they love each other. And so of course in this episode she's freaking out because she now knows that all the death of James and the two people were because they know about the Daniel Douglas information. And so she's obviously worried that David is going to be next in line. And she's like begging him, please tell me what's going on. And this is when he admits that he has to frame another person in order to save his own life. And he just can't do it. And it's like heartbreaking just watching the two of them. Like it's like their business is too, it's like, knowing what they do is just horrible because they are always having to do horrible things. So of course this is when Olivia, goes to Jake's office and she's like, who told you, like, who ordered this hit? And he basically has to lay it out saying, I'm the one who did it. Instead of making some poor innocent schmuck have to kill these few people, I am the one who did it. And she's just looking at him like, oh my God, you're turning into my father. And he's like, I'm better than your father. And it's just like, oh my God. So this is, of course, when Olivia goes to David and she's like, we need to take down B613. Forget about Jake. She's like, you need to frame this innocent person so that we could go after the beast itself. And I'm like, oh my God. And just, he says it like perfectly. He's like, oh, what? I can't take down Jake, but I can take down this organization, me, one person. And of course, she's like, no, you have me. So now they have a new mission, and that is to take down B613. I don't know how they're going to do that. But that is apparently priority number one. So the other thing that I liked in this episode, of course, was Fitz. He was a lot more like the Fitz of yesteryears, okay? He was like season 1 Fitz, where he was more calm and he was more mellow, and obviously he was dealing with his best friend, well, one of his best friends, the loss, and how hard that was going to be on Cyrus, and him trying not to use it as a political spin to lobby these gun NRA people, whatever. And he didn't want to use it as a political tool to like gain support from them. And it just kind of showed us the softer side of Fitz in this episode, which was nice because he has been public enemy number one in my eyes lately. So this was a nice episode for me to see him in. And then that moment when, of course, Cyrus just breaks down at the podium in front of all the media. And I mean, give him an Emmy for that performance because it was awesome. And then Fitz comes in and he basically just takes him and he just like takes him away. And it was just heartbreaking. And it was, again, one of those moments where you're like, see, Fitz is a good guy deep down somewhere in that big toe of his. But I really enjoyed that scene between him and Cyrus. And, it just, again, reaffirms the fact that they may do horrible things all the time, from time to time. But deep down, of course, like Cyrus is, he's a snake. But your heart broke for him in this episode, and you saw him literally coming out on the dance floor at an event around all these Republicans, and he decides this is when he's going to out himself in a relationship with his lover. And that scene again with Cyrus and Fitz, when he comes out and he says, I'm in love with somebody, or he's like, I'm dating somebody, and he's like, that's great, you're with somebody the first since your separation. He's like, and then Fitz is like, are you in love? And it's like, that's all that matters, because obviously for him it's sort of like how he feels about Olivia. All that matters is that you're in love with this person, blah 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 blah. But some really great scenes going on all the way through this episode. And then, of course, we had some serious bonding going on between Andrew, and Mellie, and they were off trying to do some campaign work, like because Fitz was back at home with Cyrus and stuff. So they were off trying to lobby these gun owners, whatever, and they were spending quite a lot of time with one another. Obviously Mellie's really good with a shotgun, and they're bonding over that. And then of course there's a little couple drinks involved, and they're giggling back and forth about whether, what were they even talking about? I can't even remember. They were just talking about what somebody who wants to get a gun should have to go through. She's like, waiting 3 minutes to have to get a gun is way too long, and he's saying waiting 3 days is more appropriate, and blah 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 blah. And of course they're like batting their eyes at one another, and they're leaning in really close, and then next thing you know, they're kissing, and clothes is coming off, and they're on the floor. And let's face it, I actually like the two of them. All this cheating on this show is ridiculous, because we should not be supporting it, but when it works, it works. And when they're having that little flirty moment, and he looks at her and he says, it's sad that he doesn't see what's right in front of him, basically. And of course Mellie's just melting all over this, and they start making out. Not mad at her, she's got to get her some, because her husband sure is. So there was just a lot of good scenes in this episode, I felt. It wasn't this like boom, boom, boom kind of moment, but it was just deeper. I felt like the show dug deeper in this episode. And then that moment at the end when James is not even dead, and he's just gasping for air, and he's gasping for breath, and the blood is just like bubbling up in his chest, and he's laying there, and then Jake comes over and he's like, I'm sorry, I wish I could have made this a clean hit like the other two, but I have to make this look like it's like a carjacking, and it has to be messy, it has to look like it's an amateur. And he's just like, I won't leave you here to die all on your own, I'll stay here with you, your daughter's gonna be fine. And it was just like, oh my God, it's just so heartbreaking. And then at the end, and he's like just the last, you can see he's just almost done. He's like, there, like, he's like, you're almost there, like, oh, just good stuff. Heartbreaking, but good stuff. Yeah, and then of course he had Sally going off on her own little, like, trying to score points with the gun owners and pretty much getting them on her side. And her and Leo are off doing their thing. And of course Cyrus was freaking out all over the place, trying to keep himself busy so he wasn't concerned, not concerned, but overly thinking about James, and then him breaking down on that podium. Again, just devastating. But some really good stuff in this episode. I actually really liked it all the way through. Yeah, guys, let me know what you thought of this episode, if you enjoyed it as much as I did, and where you think the show's going to go from here moving forwards. I know we only have a few episodes left, but oh man, I cannot wait till we end into these final few episodes and see what kind of shock and awe this show tries to bring us. All right, guys, that's it for me. I'll see you next week.